When April 5th, 2024 hits, Gardevoir EX is going to lose access to some of its most powerful cards. Mirage Step Kirlia, Shining Arcana Gardevoir, Level Ball, and Fog Crystal are among the huge cards that Gardevoir EX loses access to, so that begs the question. Can Gardevoir EX survive the 2024 standard format rotation? What is going on, everybody? Hitmonchan here, back again with another Pokemon trading card game video. Not online deck tech. Today we are talking about the standard format rotation. We're talking about Gardevoir EX, and we're going to analyze the deck, look at some current lists, and look at a future post-rotation list that I have made that can kind of help us determine if Gardevoir EX is going to be able to survive all of the card changes and the cards that it loses when rotation hits in 2024. But before we get into the video, I want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the channel, PTCGO Store. If you need codes, you know where to go. Head over to ptcgostore.com and use code HITMON to get 5% off your order. You get a good product for a good price, and you help out the channel as well. So thanks to the sponsor of the channel, and thanks to you for supporting me. And now we're going to get into this. Can Gardevoir survive these 2024 standard format rotation? Just a little brief reminder of what the standard format rotation entails. It's going to happen April 5th, 2024, and we're going to lose access to a lot of pretty impactful sets. Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, Celebration, and Fusion Strike. Majority, if not all of the cards from these sets will be ineligible for play when April 5th, 2024 hits. That's every card with a regulation E mark. This is even some promos included in that as well. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner of your Pokemon card, you will see it has a regulation number. It would be either E, F, or G right now, and all the ones that are marked with E, you're not going to be able to use them anymore. So it's important to keep that in mind if you are buying cards for tournaments and you're trying to stick to a deck and you're thinking long term, maybe you don't have a lot of money to spend on a certain deck. Important to look at these regulation marks and see what's going to be eligible to be used for far into the future. As of now, this is the sets that we are going to be losing. And now we're going to take a look at Kieran Farah's top 4 list from LAIC for Gardevoir. I can only be covering the non-VIP version of Gardevoir. I'll explain why in a second, because I think it's like the most popularly played Gardevoir list. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the analysis here. So this is the 3rd place Sao Paulo LAIC list. And as you see, it doesn't play any VIP pass. This version was popularized not too early. It was popularized pretty close to when the tournament started. Or when the tournament was happening, I should say. And I think a lot of people are electing to play this over the VIP version just because it seems a lot more consistent. You're very reliant on that Mirage Step, but when you don't have as many dead cards to draw into off of Ionos, off Roxanne's, with the increased popularity of Giratina, Judge Path, Mew. There's a lot of reasons to not play VIP Pass because it can clog you, and it really does make or break your setup if you don't get it. Plus, you don't need to play Mew from Celebrations in here. That's another one. So this is a list that we're going to be looking at today, and as you can see right now from this list, a lot of the crucial cards have to be cut. We have Mirage Step Kirlia. The whole reason that this list works is being eliminated from the standard card pool. You're just not going to be able to use it anymore, along with Gardevoir EX's strongest attacker in Shining Arcana Gardevoir, or the baby Gardevoir, which we could call it, just a standard single price Gardevoir that evolves from Kirlia in the same way that Gardevoir EX does. That is no longer going to be able to be played, and now that's a huge deal, because for one, you can't draw extra cards with it. Shining Arcana is an incredible ability, lets you draw 2 cards, and if any of them are energy, you can attach them to one of your Pokemon. That's not going to be able to happen anymore, and Brainwave is an incredible attack, 60 plus 30 for each energy attached to it, each psychic type energy, and you can't do that either. So Gardevoir is losing its most powerful setup option, it's losing its most powerful attacker, and it's losing its other really strong attacker in Zacian V from Celebrations. That card is gone too, and that's really how you close out a lot of games. If you watch any good Gardevoir EX player, they will usually be using Zacian V to just close out their game. It's also really solid in the Lost Box matchup because you can swing into a Cramorant or something, and then you don't get knocked out in return. It's pretty solid in a lot of matchups, and just being able to do a big late game explosion at the end of the game is just really so strong. So that is why Zacian V is, it's a sad loss for Gardevoir. Another major card that we are losing is Avery. This list plays Avery, and a lot of Gardevoir lists with the introduction of Screamtail are starting to play Avery, and honestly, that's pretty tragic. Avery's a really, really great card that can limit your opponent's board drastically, making them discard until they have 3 bench Pokemon remaining. and you know, it's really sad to see it go. You can no longer do countercatcher Avery Screamtail plays where you just limit your opponent's board to as little as possible. So that is something that you need to keep in mind if you're looking to play Gardevoir in the future. And then probably the like 2 other major cards. Basically every card that this deck is losing is major, but the 2 major ones are Level Ball and Fog Crystal. Level Ball is what lets you search out your Kirlias basically for free, and being able to just Level Ball for Kirlia, then Refinement discarding cards without having to discard any cards to find the Kirlia itself, like using an Ultra Ball, is going to be a really tough loss for the deck. It's also great because you can just play it and you can find your Ralts, you can find your Screamtail, you can find your Manaphy, you can find a lot of the cards in this deck in the early game, and you can just play them down for free. They don't have any other requirement other than the fact that the Pokemon has to be less than 90 HP. And Fog Crystal is another one. It searches out basic Psychic Pokemon or basic Psychic Energy, and losing access to a card that versatile in a deck that wants to discard its energy and also find its basic Psychic Pokemon early is really bad, and it really is unfortunate. This deck is losing Fog Crystal because that's a big part of what makes Gardevoir EX so good, is that once you get set up, it's just an incredibly versatile deck that can deal with literally anything your opponent throws at you. The rest of this list is pretty straightforward. We got 2 Rare Candy, 2 Super Rod, 2 Counter Catchers, a single Nest Ball, there's Palpad, Lost Vacuum, Artisan, Collapsed. Like, everything else is pretty standard. You can see it on screen. Nothing else too crazy here. But cards that are getting lost here are really important. So how do we kind of make this a little bit better? Well, I have a couple of suggestions. My first idea is for Drifloon from the Scarlet and Violet base set. It's got the Balloon Burst attack. You do 30 times the amount of Psychic Energy attached to this Pokemon. I believe that's the attack. Yeah. I think it's Psychic Energy. So you can throw a Bravery Charm on that Drifloon, boost it up to 120 HP, and swing for big damage on a single prize Pokemon. People have been trying to make the Tools version of Gardevoir work for a little bit, and it's never quite been time for it to shine. But I do think that because Gardevoir loses so much with rotation, you're going to have to play this Drifloon to offer, one, a single prize attacker that can take big one-shots, because that's all part of Gardevoir's game plan, is the comeback mechanics, right? That's what Shining Arcana Gardevoir did, is you loaded it up with energy, and you used it to take a big one-shot against your opponent's Pokemon, while leaving a single prizer in the active. Another support Pokemon that Gardevoir can make use of, and it used to make use of way back when people were trying to figure out how to play Gardevoir, when Scarlet and Violet just released, is Buddy Catch Gallade. Buddy Catch Gallade literally just lets you search for a supporter every single turn, and its attack and Swirling Slice isn't that bad because you do 160 for 3 energy, and you move an energy attached to it to one of your bench Pokemon, potentially powering something else up without damaging it with Gardevoir's ability. So Gallade, all-around solid attacker, really solid support Pokemon, and I definitely think it's going to find a home in Gardevoir lists, because just being able to search out Boss or search out Iono whenever you want in the game can lead to some really strong combinations, I think, between within the Gardevoir deck. And then the last card that I think could make its way into Gardevoir is something that you might not think is probable or even considered, and that's Deoxys V and Deoxys V-Star. Now, I need to give credit where credit is due. This is not my original idea. I believe Jake Earhart and somebody else, the name is escaping me at the moment, but I believe 2 people played this to the recent San Antonio regional. I think it was San Antonio, if I'm not wrong, and they both got day 2 with it, and I think it's a really solid card once you think about it. We're going to look at Deoxys V first. It has the Psychic attack for 2 energy, and basically you do 30 plus 30 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. This could be a good responder to, you know, taking out little single price Pokemon, leaving a tankier Pokemon in the active spot that you can just let soak a hit, and then you can Professor Taro it up after. But the star of the show here really is Deoxys V-Star. It's got 2 really good attacks, and its V-Star power in particular is super strong because Star Force does 60 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. Now, this is absolutely incredible because it basically acts as how Zacian would act at the end of the game. Albeit there is some, you know, some sketchy stuff. You do have to bench a Deoxys the turn prior, but your opponent might not really care to go for it. Because if you play it in a way where you bench the Deoxys, and then you power up a Shining Arcana Gardevoir, or sorry, you can't even do that anymore, and you power up a Drifloon, that's what I meant, with a Bravery Charm, and take out something huge with a single prizer, your opponent faces the option. Do I take out the upcoming multi-prize threat, or do I, and Or do I take out the Drifloon and the multi-price threat comes up? Because if they take out the Deoxys V, then you just hit them again with Drifloon. If they take out the Drifloon, you're only down 1 prize, then you go in with Deoxys V-Star the following turn. So you have to do a little bit of lead up, but Star Force is really, really good for closing out games, and it's also a really good like surprise attack. Solid into like Miraidon, because you can use it to respond to Iron Hands, and then they have a very tough time KOing the Deoxys V-Star. Then you can either do Psychic Javelin, which will, for 3 psychic energy, do 190 and then 60 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon V, which is a pretty solid attack, don't get me wrong. Or you could simply just Professor Turo it away, get rid of all that damage, go up with something else, and then just KO again. Or you can just hit with a Javelin, like I said. So, pretty solid options from Deoxys V and V-Star. I'm pretty excited to actually try it out. I gotta make sure I buy mine. So, if they go up in price and people get onto the spice, then, you know, I don't have to pay a lot of money. But those are kind of my ideas for alternatives and different ways to play Gardevoir. And now we're going to move into my list that I've crafted here. This is my sample post-rotation list for Gardevoir EX. Again, it's not perfect, and I'm going to tell you a couple of the card changes after I go through it, so do not worry about that. But we're going to start off with the 4-4-2-1 line of Gardevoir. So 4 alts, 4 Kirlia with Refinement, 2 Gardevoir EX, and 1 Gallade in here. We have the 1-1 line of Deoxys V and V-Star. We've still got our Cresselia, we still got our Screamtail, still got our Lumineon, still got our Manaphy, and we still got our Radiant Greninja. The only other addition is a one-of copy of Drifloon. Now, supporter-wise, we haven't really gone too far off the beaten path, but you really could kind of change your supporters however you want in this deck and make them your own, you know? Like, Gardevoir's been very versatile, and I'm sure someone will figure out the optimal way to play it, but you do have a bit of versatility now that Path to the Peak does not exist in the format anymore, because Path is rotating at the same time. We have 3 copies of Iono, 1 Boss, 1 Research, 1 Professor Turo, and I also still opted to keep the Worker in here. Again, this is going to be one of those cards that's really meta dependent, you can just cut, but if Lost City remains to be a popular choice, your stadiums aren't exactly searchable, so being able to just Worker it away and draw a bunch of cards could be an option. Worker is searchable from Gallade, so that's kind of the reason why I wanted to keep it in here. Other than that, there's nothing you're going to really need to get rid of super urgently, so Worker could be cut from be a 4th Iono, 2nd Research, or 2nd Boss, completely up to you, but that's why was my logic for keeping Worker. And the other card we have in here, or the supporter, is Arven. Arven's really solid because it can get you your tool cards, and it gets you an item card, so it can get you Rare Candy plus something else, it could get you Ultra Ball or Nest Ball plus a, you know, Bravery Charm, for example. It can get you a lot of pretty cool combos and such. So that's why we do have one of Arven in here. Now, in terms of our ball search, this is kind of where the deck is going to get a little bit tricky. We're playing 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Nest Ball, and 2 Great Ball right now. Honestly, I think it was Joe's list from Omnipoke. I think he had the Great Ball idea as well, and I think he actually plays 4 in his post-rotation list. So, Great Ball might be the way to go. Because you play so much Pokemon in the deck, you're almost going to guarantee to hit something. So, just playing the Great Ball, not having to discard anything to use it is the key here. So, yeah, the Great Ball could be really great in the deck. Again, we have 2 Rare Candy, 2 Rod, 2 Counter Catcher, pretty similar stuff, as well as a Pelipad. Now, in terms of the tools, I have included 1 Bravery Charm and 1 Luxurious Cape. I think if you're playing Arven, you're obviously able to pick and choose out of the deck which one you want. Luxurious Cape could be really good at the end of the game to boost Drifloon and Screamtail even further beyond, especially for a big late game Screamtail snipe. Like you can take out Manaphy with Cresselia early on, and then boom, go for a Screamtail with Luxurious Cape at the end of the game. And also Bravery Charm, again, is just really good because it doesn't give up prizes. You can also throw it on your Lumineon if you have to play that down so it doesn't immediately get one-shot. Same thing, you could throw it down on your Deoxys V to boost it up to 260 HP. So a lot of decks might have trouble one-hit KOing it before it evolves into Deoxys V-Star. Then you evolve into Deoxys and do your thing. So a lot of reasons for Bravery Charm to be in here. Again, it depends what you want to do, depends what ends up being more important. You could cut Drifloon for a 2nd Screamtail and cut Bravery Charm for an Ancient Booster Energy Capsule, but I think Bravery Charm being very versatile on a lot of your Pokemon is just important, so I think you would rather play the Bravery Charm. Stadium-wise, we have a 1-1-1 split. We got Collapse Stadium, we got Artisan, and then we have the new Moonlight Hill. This should be coming out in our Shiny set. I believe in the Shiny set, which is releasing in January. If not, it's going to come out with a I'm forgetting the names, but there's another set that's coming out when rotation happens. So it's going to be coming out in that set. So we're going to get it soon before rotation either way. Fingers crossed anyway. But if you don't know what the Stadium does, you can discard a Psychic Energy from your hand and then heal 30 damage from each of your Psychic Pokemon. So very good card, because not only it allows you to discard the Psychic Energy, it also allows you to heal and then compile more energy on your Pokemon, letting the damage scaling of Balloon Blast, or Roaring Scream or whatever scale higher and higher and higher. With each energy you put on it. Now, the very last card that I think is important to note in here, I did include one copy of Earthen Vessel, because think about it, Earthen Vessel can discard your energy and find your energy, and then you can draw with Radiant Greninja off of that energy. So one card gets 2 energies in the discard pile, plus 2 cards to be drawn. I think it's really, really solid. So I definitely think Earthen Vessel can have a place in here, especially because we don't have access to Fog Crystal anymore. Now, obviously, there's some things missing from this list. One, there's no Jirachi. And if Lost Box continues to be popular, which it could, Lost Box is probably going to be surviving rotation. If you want a little guide on that, I will. I'm going to talk about that, but let me know what kind of these videos you want to see next. Anyway, I do believe Lost Box will survive rotation, so Sableye could stick around. And same thing with Giratina. So having access to Jirachi might be really good for this deck. But we'll have to wait and see. That's more of a meta thing. You know, Kieran did not play the Jirachi in his run, and he got 3rd place. So, like, you know what? You never know. It kind of depends on what the meta calls for. There could be any other psychic attacker that you could play in this list that you might think is really cool, and then go for it. You know, that's the beauty of Gardevoir, is it's a very versatile deck. Another option that I was considering, dependent on the meta, because we have Buddy Catch Gallade, I was thinking, instead of playing the Deoxys V and V-Star line, to play Mewtwo EX from Paradox Rift. It's a lightning type, but it takes Psychic Energy, and playing Fortin, so you can accelerate a bunch of energies to a Pokemon and then Fortin it into the Mewtwo EX. That was my thought as well. But if you need to take out, like if Lugia remains popular, if you need to take that out, if you got to take out other Pokemon that are weak to lightning, Mewtwo EX could be your game plan. Could play Mewtwo V-Star in here. You could play Mew EX in here. There's so many options. This is just a sample, just a taste of what Gardevoir could look like. And yeah, that's basically it. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this list? What do you think of Gardevoir and post-rotation and all those shenanigans? Let me know your thoughts. I am very curious. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. I'm posting multiple Pokemon Trading Card Game videos every single week here on the Hitmonchan channel. Leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. And yeah, comment down below. Tell me what you think of this deck. How does Gardevoir survive? I want to hear your thoughts. And you guys had actually some really awesome ideas in the Miraidon video, like Darkrai, V-Star, and Miraidon to get back generators is something I never would have thought of, but I think it's like just crazy enough to work. So I love hearing everybody's ideas. Please comment them down below. I gotta catch up on my comments, but I do read them all and I will respond to them all at some point. So yes, thank you again so much for watching, and until next time, Hitmonchanning out.